everybody, it's time to LOL. Listen out loud, that is. It's time for Anime Jam Session with DJ Ranma S, Mako-chan, and Ari Rockefeller.
Hey everyone, welcome to Anime Jam Session, episode number 613. We are that podcast that talks about anime, games, conventions, the fandom, geek stuff, and everything in between. I'm DJ Ranma S.
And I am Mako-chan.
And sorry about that earlier. As you all know from last week's episode, we went into two-play mode, and Barry jumped in. I flipped the scene around, but I forgot to flip the Skype input. But that was very minimal, so there's that. And also, Ari is off tonight. He's doing the mid shift, so he'll be back next week. So, anywho, Mako-chan, how are you doing tonight?
Meh.
I kind of feel that too. But I consider myself lucky that I don't have to work tomorrow, because most places, you know, when you go on when they get closed for like Thanksgiving break, it's just Thursday. Some places are like Thursday and Friday. My job, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm like, okay. And I just
hush.
No, I'm not trying to say it like that. But I did find it amusing that a lot of the new people that started working this year, they were like, what is going on? Because like the last 2 days, it's just been ramping up. It's just been like so much stuff's being done. And I'm like, well, we're closed on Wednesday. So everybody's trying to get stuff done today. And I'm like, tomorrow, which is today, around 2:30, it's going to drop. What do you mean? It's going to drop. And what I mean by that is, by that time, people have already left the office to go home. Simple as that. Do whatever they need to do for Thanksgiving. So that's basically what happened around 2:30. It just dropped. And there I am, just staring at the screen, drinking coffee, just trying to make it through the end of the day. So, anywho, let's kind of get the show on the road tonight. Oh, man. We're live tonight, week of November 21st, 2023, right here on Twitch TV. We're here live Tuesdays from 9 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern. You will always find us here at Twitch TV/Anime Jam Session. We're also proud to be part of the Voice of Geeks Network at vognetwork.com. And they're also on Twitch as well. You'll find them at Twitch TV/Anime Jam Session. Twitch TV/VOG Network. My bad. And we also have a Discord, vognetwork.com/Discord. Every show that's part of the Voice of Geeks Network has their own channel. So come through and hang out with us. And if you want to check out VOG Network on Twitch, they kick things off Sundays at 8 p.m. with the Bobby Blackwolf Show, followed by Orange Lounge Radio at 9. Got that out the way. So let's go ahead and ask Mako-chan, how was her week and how was her day?
Week has been interesting.
Yeah.
Work has been interesting. I have electricians coming tomorrow, or I should say my mother has electricians coming to my house tomorrow. They're going to be putting in a new electric switch box.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm going to have no power the entire day. And I can only hope that it doesn't screw things up by the time I get home tomorrow. Other than that, that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool to updating the box, but it'd be cool if you could put in like those new fancy electrical outlets that have the built-in USB ports, or you know, the ones where you plug them in and then you go to your app and you can just control the power and stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, I mean, that's something that I can do without an electrician's help.
Oh, I know, though, the external adapters, like, you know, what I want to do, it's like, I want, like, a Wi-Fi light, like a switch that's Wi-Fi powered, where, you know, I go into the app, tell it volume, do this and do that. But in order to get those type of switches, you actually got to pull the switch out of the wall and replace it. And I'm just like, that's not what I want.
Yeah, I can do that. I have done that.
A Wi-Fi switch like that?
Well, not a Wi-Fi switch like that, but I
Oh,
know how to change the outlet
oh
out.
okay, all right, yeah. Makes sense, makes sense. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I want to disable one of the switches behind in the door. That's on the other side of the door behind me. For those of you who don't know, my apartment has two doors. One that leads to the outside of the house, and the other one that leads upstairs. And there are two switches. It's basically they control the lights you see up here. There's a switch at the door over here that I can flip on that turns on the lights in here, and there's one on the other side of the door. So when I open the door, there are lights I come in. But sometimes if one switch is up and one switch is down, something like that, it just throws everything in the other kind of a little crazy, something like that. So what else is going on with you, Mako?
That's about it.
Okay.
Just gotta get ready for this weekend, basically.
Gotcha. So my weekend day has been basically the same, except that I went to Anime NYC, and I will talk about that later on in the broadcast. Work has been pretty good, you know. It's just that at my job, or most jobs would know, around the holidays, it's like things start to ramp up, and then it comes to a lull. I know in some industries it's like that because people are going on vacation and this and that, and then you're in the IT department just twiddling your thumbs, making sure nothing explodes. That's basically the long and short of it at my job. So now we got that out the way. We're gonna get into some housekeeping notes here. Excuse me. It'll actually do as it's supposed to. There we go. All right, so just want to let you know that episodes of Anime Jam Session are available not just in our Twitch archive here, but they're also available on YouTube. You can find them at youtube.com/Anime Jam Session. Click on playlists and podcast VODs, and you'll find them there. If you want to check out older stuff, there is a playlist for that, 2022 and 2021. Eventually, those will be going away because the podcast feed is more or less up and running. So there'll be a podcast feed there of all of our episodes we have. So you can definitely check them out there. And our last show of the year, I finally have a date on that. That will be our Christmas show, December 12th, starting at 9 p.m. It'll be me, Mako. Hopefully it'll be me, Mako, Ari, Barry, and Koi. The five of us talking and chatting. It's going to be a very chill, very relaxed show. We'll probably look up some crazy Christmas stories out of Japan or something like that, and trade stories. Just talk and stuff like that. It's going to be very chill. And then we will be on break until, let's see. We'll be back January 9th, 2024. Because honestly, I know by the time I come back from Japan, I know I probably won't be ready to get back into the swing of things for a show. So we'll be back most likely either the 9th or the 16th. As it gets closer, I will let you all know. So, okay. Next up is Geek Roundtable. This is where we talk more about the geekier aspects of our weekend days, and we share some cool nerd swag. So some of y'all who are watching, you can see what Mako has up on display. For those of you who are listening, tell the audience what you got.
Yeah. So, I know that we have spoken about my obsession with Bush and Gavin Rossdale.
Mm-hmm.
They released a greatest hits album, and I figured I already have 90% of their music digitally or actual CD.
Right.
So I figured I might as well get the greatest hits as vinyl. And the fun part is the vinyl is clear. It's a smoky clear I think that's what they call it, smoky clear.
That looks
So
kind of cool.
so it's kind of like a frosted, like a clear frosted plastic look, which is just kind of cool.
It does look kind of cool. From where I look, I thought it was some type of like French vanilla type color or something like that.
Yeah, no, I can't get because it is clear, I
Mm-hmm.
can't really get that color right because
Gotcha.
it's just picking up color from behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting on 2 more albums to come in.
Okay.
Um, I was sent a link to be able to get the Persona 5 album
Mm-hmm.
on sale, and I said fuck it and dropped the money on it.
How much was that?
$100.
I mean, that's not bad. I mean, I think
No, and it's four
album.
it's 4 albums.
Yeah.
But I really, really wanted it because that nice jazzy sound
Mm-hmm.
um really is good for record players. I
Yeah.
mean, you can play anything on a record player, but the depth of music that you get with jazz and with blues and things like that, that's really what, you really want a record player for.
Mm-hmm.
So playing the games so much and listening to the music, I really want it for my bar and lounge area,
Yeah.
and I will have it shortly.
A part of me kind of wants you to hang a couple of speakers up in the corner of the bar and lounge area. I think it would kind of work.
Once I actually get everything set up, I will be getting a couple of external speakers,
Mm-hmm.
because I have my record player. My record player is Bluetooth capable
Right.
and has an internal speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to hook that up currently. Once everything is fixed, I have a stereo system that has, CD player and things like that. So I can hook that up into the speakers from that to help to boost the sound. But
Okay.
I really would like better speakers because I mean that's the big thing with vinyl is,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a cheap player. Most of your players are going to play the same. It's the speaker that is really going to give you that sound quality that you're looking for. So I have to see what it picks up with my stereo system, and if
Right.
that doesn't work well enough, then I get my own speakers.
There you go. Because I can point in your direction to some good ones, and the best part is they're not that expensive, but they're just good, couple. There's some good brands, but that's a story for another time. We could take offline.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Anime wise, I believe I caught up with the Eminence in Shadow season 2. I'm an episode behind on Rising of the Shield Hero season 3. I'm an episode behind on Girlfriend. I'm caught up on Kenshin. I mean, honestly, those are the 4 animes of the current season I'm following. I'm on episode 14 of my rewatch of Yu Yu Hakusho. I would like to get as far as I can watching it to get ready for the for the live action series. I actually started watching Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Now, I've been seeing back and forth about the series. You got people that are upset that it doesn't follow the graphic novels 1-to-1. You got some people who actually love how it is. It's sort of like the best way I can describe Scott Pilgrim Takes Off without spoiling it is if you've ever watched Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the live action. If you remember, right after they got Sailor Mars, and then the plot just veered 90 degrees left, right, and just went in its own little direction. That's basically what happened. That's the best way I can describe Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Granted, things happen way different in the live action than it did in the manga, but it still came around full circle. That's the best way I can describe it. And I've seen people talk, they absolutely love the series. There are some people who absolutely hate it, and then this is what. So far, I'm enjoying it for what it is. I'm one of those who believes like if there's an if it's going to be like a live action or an animated or whatever, I didn't want it to be a one-to-one adaptation. As long as you got the major plot points together, like if you ever seen live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 90s, in that one, if you remember in the original story, Splinter was the original master, Hamato Yoshi, and he taught the turtles. In the live action, in the movie, Splinter was the pet of Hamato Yoshi, and he was learning and mimicking his master's moves, and that's how he learned. Something slightly different, but it still worked. So, I am on episode 4, and so far it's so good. I am not too fond of some of the voices. I do understand that they brought the entire cast back from the movie to record this, but to be perfectly honest, it's been 10 years. You really didn't have to do that. I emphasize, you really didn't have to do that. And also, for those of you who are watching and paying attention, I am wearing my Sailor Venus Ugly Christmas sweater. It's an orange sweater with Venus on it, with the symbol at the top, followed by hearts and so forth. I wore it to work today, and people actually enjoyed it. They actually liked it. And in doing so, a friend of mine was looking for a Sailor Pluto one, and I found a site that had it, and it looks like it's official merch, because the pattern of the Pluto one is similar to the Venus and the other ones. And on another site, I found another Venus Ugly Christmas sweater that I'm probably going to end up purchasing anyway. So I might end up packing one of them and taking it to Japan, see how that goes. All right. Enough about. Oh wait, no. I have one more thing. Like I said, I have a bunch of figurines that I've purchased throughout the year, and I've been kind of going through them and so forth, trying to display them. I have another figurine coming Friday, I think, and I'm just gonna be like, that's gonna be fun. I have this Spy Family figure, and this is one that I've cosplayed at Zenkai Con 2 years in a row for the formal, and it is Formal Party Lloyd. As in this one, he is wearing a black suit, red tie, and he has the pin for the spy association that he works for right on the collar. So it's pretty nice. And it's actually one of my favorite figurines that I have here. That will go up on the shelf. I have 2 more figurines to share for y'all, and that's it. And I say that because the last bunch of cons I've been going to, I haven't really been buying much in the ways of figures. Granted, I did buy one at Anime NYC, only because it was on sale. A booth was selling figurines, like, I think 35 each, 2 for 50. So I bought one for me and one for a friend. Anyway, enough about that. We're going to get into the couple of the conventions that we have attended. We have some news, and we're going to get things going. And if there's time, we might slip in another article. We'll just see how things go. So, first thing we're going to talk about is Village Con. This was a local convention to Mako-chan.
Yeah, the con is put on by Jersey Shore Comic Book Show. They basically rent out little, little rooms and things like that. This one happened to be close to where my mother lives. They rented out the hall at her 55 and over village, which weird because that's just a weird place to, put a convention. Uh,
before we continue, I want you to know, Anime in New Jersey falls under the location of weird. That convention is about a half hour from your old college.
mm-hmm.
I I understand, like, there are conventions that are in popular cities, and sometimes they can be in an odd location because of the space. But a con being in a odd location of the state, please continue.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just basically it's a lot of local
Mm-hmm.
authors, comic book, artists. They had Sharon Smith Lentz, who was on the original Dark Shadows TV series.
Yeah.
Um, they had a couple of cosplayers. They had a lot of vendors. They even had the 501st
Mm-hmm.
and the Mandalorians there. So I mean, it was a nice turnout for a comic book convention, but just in a weird area, which I don't think helped it any.
I also want to feel, well, one thing about the 501st, they appear at almost any comic convention. Or
Yeah, but I mean, this was a tiny convention.
mm-hmm.
Like it was basically just a vendor's hall. There were no panels, no nothing like that. So yeah, I don't even know why it's called a convention. It really is just, a comic book selling show.
Well, here's the thing. This is something that I have noticed over the years. It's just that a lot of events call themselves comic and hobby shows, comic and toy shows. And that's what they basically are. But when you throw the word convention on it, you would think that more people will show up. So a lot of, like, places that call themselves comic and toy shows are calling themselves conventions. I remember, I don't know if they're still doing this here, but when I lived in Westchester, there's this place called the Cross County Mall. You have the shopping center, and then there's the mall. In the mall, they would have vendors outside of the storefronts, like in the walkway areas, set up selling comics and stuff like that. And eventually, they will call the Comic and Toy Show or Comic and Toy Expo. But eventually, they start calling themselves cons in general, just to get butts in seats for the most part. To me, I would have, if there was like an empty storefront, I would have everybody in there and call it a comic and toy convention store or something like that, because it's in a friggin' store, whatever. But that's what people think. If you call it a convention, more people will show up. You try to have elements of it, but that's what they were relying on. So, how was the merch?
Um, a lot of pop figures.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be like 5 or 6 people selling pop figures. Um, I like when I was reading this stuff, there was supposed to be, Lego vendors, and I really didn't see that. But there were a lot of pop figures. There were a lot of comic art type artist alley stuff. Then the artists that were there, Neil Vokes, who does Superman, Bob Petrka, who does Batman,
Mm-hmm.
they had their art stuff there. They did a kind of door raffle. So when you went in, it was only $5. So like
Right.
it's not like I was out a whole crap ton of money for this place.
Mm-hmm.
So like you pay the $5 to get in, and they hand you a ticket, and then they had like a couple of things that were, I guess, donated by the other, vendors. So there was some art there. that I really kind of wanted. One of the artists actually did a Loki piece
Mm-hmm.
that I was trying to go for. Unfortunately, I didn't get.
How much was it going for?
Well, no,
Oh,
like just you took the tag, the ticket that you got
right.
from when you got in and just put it in the bucket there.
Oh, raffle. Got you.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
just a door raffle. Um, so yeah, I mean, they had some pretty interesting um old school kind of things for sale, which I expected at a comic book show.
Mm-hmm.
Not just people vending comics, but the old figures and things like that. A lot of stuff that was just a little too much out of my price range.
I get that.
But yes, so I didn't end up with anything, but my mother grabbed a couple of things for me for Christmas.
Do you know what she grabbed you, or you were just like in the dark with that?
No, she grabbed me some pop figures.
Mm.
So I have a Piplup pop figure and a one of the evolutions. I don't remember which evolution it was though.
Mm-hmm.
It's either Espeon. It might have been Espeon. Might have been Espeon. I don't
Okay.
remember. But one of the evolutions that I don't have. So those are the two things that she picked up for me.
Sounds good.
So I mean, I actually was chit-chatting with uh Tony DiGiorno.
Yeah, I think that's the person I had mentioned to you who was talking to me about the convention in one of the group chats I'm in.
Yeah, he's a local author, but
Mm-hmm.
he's done writing
Okay.
for uh like different things. Anybody that watches the it's a web series called Roommates.
Mm-hmm.
He's the writer for that, but he also has done he's worked on the Simpsons comics and on their TV series. He's worked on the Bart Simpsons comic. He's done script writing for Politically Incorrect. He's
Mm.
done script writing for Space Ghost Coast to Coast. He was a blogger on Comedy Central's Indecision website.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of that. He writes his own novels as well. He's done a couple of various, I guess, D20 type game books
Mm-hmm.
that he's written. But one of his series, it's called The Pineys,
Yeah.
which he bases it on basically New Jersey.
Mm.
Like the little bits of lore and myth and things like that, they're brought up in the books, and all the places that are brought up in the books are all places usually around South Jersey. So it's definitely definitely a series to look into just
Mm-hmm.
because it is local. So I don't have to kind of guess at what things look like. I actually know what things look like.
Nice.
I know where all of these places are going to be that he's talking about. But it's like he's really big into the Jersey Devil, so a lot of that is touched into these books as well.
All right, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, so definitely an interesting convention, but I can't say I was there for more than an hour.
Okay. So it just seems like, as you say, it was just a big vendors hall, no panels, no costume contests or anything like that.
Yeah, no. So I mean, if you're looking for old comic issues that you might want to start collecting again, it's definitely a show to look into. They do them all over Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is the same convention group. They just go to all of these, they, as I said, they basically rent halls and stuff like that and have the conventions in all of these different places. So if you're looking for old video games, if you're looking for old comic books, if you're looking for old merchandise, um, this is, the type of thing that you would want to get into,
Right.
and it's not really expensive to get in.
Okay. I like the sound of that. All right. Let's go ahead and advance the storyline here to Anime NYC 2023. Oh. Well, it was an interesting convention. I'll say that much. Now, yes, I am local to New York City. I live out here. And yes, I did stay in a hotel. Now, a couple of people have asked, why did I stay in a hotel as opposed to commuting back and forth? I said it's simple, really.
Because that's a lot of shit to commute with.
Exactly. If I were to commute back and forth, I would have to be up at about 7 a.m. Showered, dressed, everything, have everything I need in a suitcase for that day. Then be out the door by 8:30. And granted, on the weekends, for those of you who don't live in New York City, trains are total mess on the weekends. Fans were already upset that there were no trains going to the Javits Center. There was shuttle buses. So between all of that, and then having to let me close that. Well, between that and just getting there, it would probably take me close to like 2 hours to get to the convention. And then checking my gear and just walking around and doing what I had to do. Now, let's say after all of that, I want to go to an after party. Didn't bring a change of clothes. I would have to go, or I did, but I would have to either go into one of the bathrooms to change, or if I didn't bring a change of clothes, I'd have to go home and change and come back. Now, I stayed in the room, and Byron D0, who was with me for the weekend, his con report will be up later this week. Also, on a side note, the J1 con report will be up shortly, and the AAC con reports will be up shortly. So we're good on those. So staying in a hotel means that I don't have to get up till about 8:30. Take my time showering and getting ready. I can go down the street, grab breakfast, come back, grab whatever I need, and just do like a 10 or 15-minute walk to the Javits Center and be there. I didn't realize it, but where my hotel was, it was basically a straight walk there. So I was like, even better, I just wished that, these hotels in New York City weren't so damn small. My hotel room was basically half the size of my apartment. The living space, that is. Hell, there wasn't even a fridge. That should tell you something. But tons of USB charging ports. Tons. Okay. So, Friday I went. I got some photos. I had a good time. Friday I went to one panel. It was the only one that I found interesting. It was the Panty and Stocking character creation panel. Basically, members of Studio Trigger were there, and people were just throwing ideas at the creators. Now, one thing I will tell you: most conventions will allow you to record the panels and so forth. The only thing you are not really allowed to record are concerts. Even then, they'll be like the first 3 songs and that's it. These panels, you weren't supposed to record them. And I didn't. Didn't even take pictures, no nothing. Basically, this wasn't a preview for the upcoming new Panty and Stocking, but I can tell you some of the things that I did see. Now, they spoofed Iron Man, and they called him Iron Mask. Oh, but Mako, there's more.
Oh, God.
The person in the suit looks like Elon Musk. But there's more. On the chest plate of the Iron Mask suit was the old Twitter logo, the bird. And in real time, one of the artists erased it and put the X logo instead.
Oh my god.
That was fucking hilarious. Now, this is the part where they start taking suggestions from the audience for like villain, for character ideas. And this is a villain. Now, understand, Penny and Stocking with Garter Belt takes place in the fictional town of Daiten City, which is a spoof of New York City. There were various ideas, but the one that I do remember, because one of the artists started drawing it, somebody said it would have to be a New York City subway rat. So he starts drawing the rat, but it doesn't look like your normal rat. Care to guess what this character kind of resembles?
Who did he base it off of?
Mickey Mouse. But there's more.
Oh man.
So somebody started throwing suggestions and so forth. Somebody suggested that the rat wears Timberland boots. So he starts drawing this mouse, in this case rat, with Timberlands on. Now, as we all know, as we've seen in any Disney film, they show the Disney logo that says Walt Disney or Walt Disney Presents, and it shows like the castle from the Magic Kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he started drawing that, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And he wrote a word above it, like in a logo. And again, I didn't get it. And he drew something else above there till somebody, like the translator, pointed it out. So he wrote Timberland, and the little symbol above it was basically a spoof of the Timberland logo. And the funny thing is, they were taking so many ideas from the audience. I came up with an idea for a villain or a character at the last minute, but because of the time, I didn't raise my hand because they wouldn't get to it. But I'll tell y'all this one, and if they somehow use this, I'll be great. I'll be greatly amused by it. How about a villain that is a New York City subway car that creates its own tracks driving around, and it has arms on both sides giving you the middle finger? I think that would be kind of funny.
I mean, that definitely would be fitting for New York.
Yes, it would be. So that was the only panel that I did. I mean, because honestly, I wasn't really impressed with the lineup of panels. And the fact that all the good ones were already, quote unquote, gone. And I'm like, I honestly didn't care for them, And I'm like looking at this, and it's like, one of the things I didn't like was they had panels for pro people only. Basically, if you had a pro pass, you could only go to that panel. Like, pros only. 8 mangas you should add to your collection. Or the professional networking, that I do get, but still. Here's one. Designing library programs around manga. I don't think that should be a pro panel, because that could give anybody an idea. You run an anime club or a manga club, you can do something like that,
Yeah.
I
mean, I get the whole pro panel thing. It is, used to ensure that the people that really want to see those panels can get into them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is something that they do at a lot of specialty
Mm-hmm.
conventions. I know some of the horror conventions do it. I know the supernatural convention does it.
Mm-hmm.
Have just a general ticket, and then they have like a silver and a gold. So I get it, but to have something like that as your next tier when it really is beneficial for people that probably don't have a lot of money to spend
Mm-hmm.
on an upgraded ticket,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're doing it for a, public library type of
Mm-hmm.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
that seems a little off.
Now, as I'm looking through this, like one thing I'm glad what Anime NYC did is like, well, all the conventions are doing is like they're putting the meetups in the program books, so you know where to go if you're going to a meetup to take pictures and so forth. Because I went to the Love Live meetup and I went to the Sailor Moon meetup. So, I mean, you have an industry panel for J novels. There was one on publishing anime. I mean manga. There was a panel for Lycoris Recoil, like behind the scenes stuff, which was cool. But the thing is, these were all industry based stuff. There wasn't like there was a panel on new stuff coming out of Crunchyroll.
Hmm.
Dr. Stone behind the scenes panel. They had a couple of panels with some of the guests. There wasn't really any fan panels. That was something I more or less had a problem with. Now, I've heard from a couple of people that, well, it's an industry show. They're not going to have fan panels. If that's not the biggest load of bullshit, I don't know what is. Because AX is basically the biggest anime industry trade show in this country. And they have a crap load of fan panels. So,
Yeah,
that's.
that
Mhm,
seems weird
mhm,
because that's where you get your padding in
yes.
kind of events.
They replaced the padding with like screenings and so forth. I mean, there wasn't anybody doing a live podcast. I mean, if there was going to be a live podcast, I would have expected like Anime Addictions Anonymous or Anime World Order. Don't expect us. We don't have that big of a following yet. Those other two, I would have expected to be there. I think Anime's News Network does a podcast. Nothing like that was going on.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, especially when you have, some of the actual like industry type news channels going there to cover, to not have them, have some sort of panel when they do so much other crap. That seems weird.
I know. I know that's like well, I've said, well, since Peter left, things are going to be changed. Well, that's probably one of them. So I basically spent from 11 to 7 o'clock walking around taking cosplay photos. And that's what I did. I even jumped on the line early for the masquerade. Again, this is something it's one of my pet peeves. And it's not a make or break thing. Now, I understand as a press/media outlet, getting media badges is a special gift, it's a special permission. And I do know that in exchange for these badges, I have to do coverage. I have to do something to show that, we worked for them. But I kind of hoped and felt that, maybe you should kind of help us out. The most, I mean, I don't even want like to be able to jump a line at a panel or an event. No, I don't even want that. I could care less about that. I think it's fair. I think it's more than fair that press and media get front row seats, if not front row, near front row, like the first, second, or third rows. Right? Not all of us have high end lenses for our cameras. There are great photographers that use point and clicks or advanced photo shoot cameras. And they should sit in the front. That's it. I that's the only issue that I have, and I don't want to make a big stink out of it, which I won't. I'm just saying it would be nice, like here are your free badges. Here's all the coverage. I understand you can do all this coverage, but let's help you out a little.
Hmm.
That's all. That's all I'm asking. And I know we've been to cons where they don't give out badges, like press badge, but they either give us discounted prices, but we still get like a decent seat. That's it. And it's not for the aspect of viewing. Like again, like if we're showing up with cameras and camcorders, we want a good spot so we can record the event and make sure it looks good. That's it. So that's the best way I could talk about Anime NYC. It just felt more like an industry show, and you were there to show off your cosplays and be the best. That's all it was. Now, one thing about the Javits Center, there's open space on the north and the south side, and people will set up shop with their cameras and their lights and so forth. I personally don't understand doing photography and then having a light come out of your backpack or walking around with the light. All I need is the flash that's on my camera. I mean, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to set up a spot and have cosplayers come to me, but that doesn't always happen. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. And I also want to say, I one thing about Anime NYC, there's a lot of Asian cosplayers that come, and they usually congregate in the front area. And I walk through the area because there's some great cosplays. And in a way, I kind of felt like a fish out of water because here I am, this tall black dude with a camera. You can tell he's a fan, wants to take pictures, and it's like there's a bit of a language gap, there's awkwardness and so forth. And I had a couple of friends tell me, just go over and ask for a photo. It's just do it. I actually had a couple of my Chinese friends that were there, and we kind of talked about it briefly, and they basically were saying, we understand the language, but there is like a cultural difference. It's like you're born here and you understand the language, but they're from the mainland, so there's a bit of a culture difference on the outside looking in, so on and so forth, which I totally get. But I still got some great photos. And I was surprised I did run into a cosplay that was cosplaying from Redo of Healer. And I'm just like, wow. I I would have to say that and another girl cosplaying Megumi Kato from Seikano or Soritaka. Those cosplays surprised me, and I'm glad that I saw them and I got pictures of them because those cosplays made my day because it's a break from the norm, from the normal Genshin Impact, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer, the big four, You see all these other cosplays, and I'm really enjoying that. I would say, overall, the way I feel with Anime NYC is this: if you're coming to cosplay and put on your A game, this is it right here. This is it. If you're looking for some great deals in a dealer's hall, yeah, you will find dealers here you might not find anywhere else. And that's basically the best I can say about that. What I'd like to see next year is more fan panels. That's it. More fan panels. Now let's talk Masquerade briefly. What surprised me was the lack of idol skits, or as a friend of mine calls them, press play skits. Basically, your whole squad's going out there doing Love Live, and you play the song, and you're doing the choreography for that song as your cosplay troupe. A press play skit. I didn't see any of that. I saw a nice variety of walk-ons. I saw a nice variety of not really action skits, but more drama skits and music. It was good. It was a nice blend. One of the things that I like is that there was they had the not the sign, but the display up, where they would have the name of the cosplayers, the name of the skit, and so you have like a general idea, and they would pull that down, put up the background, and let people do their routines. I know this is something that Anime Matsuri does. I think this is something that more conventions should do, because a lot of cons will have they'll have the screens up so you can watch the skit if you're far away, but take advantage of those screens to put on there, the name of the group, the skits, like that. There are some conventions that will use those screens to show the winners of Masquerade, That's kind of do something like that. Now, there was one craftsmanship entry that I saw. I didn't hate it. I liked it, but it was interesting. Now, an anime convention will have various rules for their craftsmanship or the masquerade. For the most part, they will tell you, some will be like, it has to be strictly anime or anime inspired. So let's say you wanted to do a Super Mario Brothers skit. Some will say no, but technically it counts because there was a Super Mario Brothers anime movie that came out in the 90s. In the late 80s, I mean. But you really couldn't do Zelda. But the catch-all would be there is a Zelda manga. So there you are. Another example would be, I'm just throwing it out there. Jurassic Park. You couldn't do a Jurassic Park skit because there's no anime influence to it whatsoever. Now, some masquerade some cosplays will allow you to do craftsmanship, and it really doesn't matter what your source material is. So, let me fix it. There was this one entry just threw me off. Maka, I'll give you 3 guesses. I'll give you a hint. This series is basically an American series. You may have grown up with this series, and you might have had a doll from this series.
That doesn't help.
I know that's the best I can do without blatantly giving it away. But I did mention the name one. The name of the series is 3 words, and I did mention 2 of those names, 2 of those words.
I have no idea.
All right. American Girl doll.
That's odd.
I know. I forget the character's name, but she did a craftsmanship cosplay of one of the girls from American Girl dolls from like the early 1800s. She did like the whole like sleep, nighttime jumper, the whole thing. That threw me for a fucking loop, okay? All right, I got Lightroom up. I'm going to see if I can find this picture, because I know it was early on. Or at least I think it was early on. I'm trying to find it here. Because I was just completely caught off guard by that. And I'm just like, they allowed for this? Where is it? I know I took pictures of this, so it was before the Sailor Moon one. All right, here it is. Let me see if I can find it. All right, I got pictures of the. All right, I think Felicity from American Girl doll. Someone did a cosplay of Felicity from American Girl doll. I'll say I really got some good shots with my 70 to 300 lens. I'm really impressed by that. But still, it's not something I was expecting.
Mm.
But, a lot of technical to that. So I'm like, you go on, you do you. I think that should have been saved for a Comic Con or a multi-genre con. I think that cosplay should have been saved for that. It's not like American Girl Doll is going to have an anime series. It is what it is. Now, right now, everybody's trying to get ready for Anime NYC moving to the summertime, and a lot of people are upset by that because they dropped this at the news at the very last minute. I like to say, you have this. In most cases, conventions are at the mercy of the hotel or the convention center itself. The fact that it's in the summer means they will have the entire convention center. There were spots that were closed off that you could walk by downstairs you couldn't get into. So that's what it is. So, and then people are complaining, oh, it's between the other big conventions. This is a competition. It's not really a competition against the other big conventions of the summer because there are going to be people that's going to do 1, 2, or all of those big cons and so forth. Someone complained about, oh, it's going to be extra smelly with the fanboys in New York City. That's any convention in the summer. It doesn't fucking matter. I'd like to see how this plays out. And please, no more late night masquerades. And what I mean by late night is having the masquerade start at 8:30. You're not done until 10:30. There are people that want to leave early and go to the after parties. The late night event, like masquerade like that should have been at 7 o'clock. Let that go from 7 to 9. Everybody is out. They had the opportunity to go back to the hotel rooms, relax, change, and go to the after parties that start around 10 o'clock, you know? As they go back to what I was mentioning about cosplay, Cedar Beery says, a YouTuber I follow has done some great American Girl cosplay. It might have been her. I actually don't know. Again, I ain't knocking it. I was just completely caught off guard by it. I was like, okay, change your status quo. I will say this. I can't put my full 100% behind going in next year. But if you're not doing any other big conventions during the summer, give it a shot. Hell, just get us, if you can, secure a Saturday badge and book a one-night stay at a local hotel. It might just be worth it. All right. And now that we got that out the way, we have a couple of stories here we're going to cover, and then we're going to get into Meanwhile in Japan. Let's see what we have here. An animator destroys MAPPA's production floor. A person that worked on Jujutsu Kaisen. And this is something we've talked about on the show previously, the working conditions of animators and animation studios. This is one of those jobs where you got to have like a love for it in order to do this and endure and deal with this.
Yeah, so there is an ongoing dispute, scandal, whatever you want to talk about, with MAPPA's production company. They are trying to make things very cheaply, trying to get things out very quickly, and not doing what they need to do for artists in order to have that come out reasonably. So, the animator for Jujutsu Kaisen, Soto Shigetsugu, posted a clip on November 16th revealing that the wrecked building in the latest Season 2, Episode 17 was actually based on MAPPA's own production floor. Goes on to say, this is kind of an inside joke, but the building being destroyed in this cut actually exists in Shibuya. but since I couldn't find photos or layouts of the interior, I destroyed MAPPA's production floor for Jujutsu instead, which was just the right size. And the staff loved it. Among the wreckage, users also identified other Easter eggs from the episodes that referenced MAPPA, including a Chainsaw Man plushie of popular character Pochita. One of the top replies to the post came from a fellow staff member, Kazuto Ari, who commented, "My desk just got blown away." Fans appear happy to see Ari in seemingly good spirits after the episode director's distressing post on Twitter from November 15th, which featured a character in a graphic manner who many took to mean Ari himself. Shigetsugu continues his candidness about the conditions at MAPPA in recent times. On November 11th, he revealed that the Jujutsu Kaisen movie took only 4 months to make, when a standard 30-minute episode generally takes at least 1 month. The chief animation director on the film recently extended an invite to the United States acting union, SAG-AFTRA, to talk some sense into youth. According to the chief animating director and the voice actor, the anime industry is crumbling. However, it's said that nothing will change unless Japanese animators come together in a unified movement. Can't say that I don't agree with that. You got to do something sometimes in order to have people actually listen to you.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think, Japanese animators should unionize, I think it's really sad they make very little money for these big productions and so forth, That in a way is no different from actual actors and voice actors here, And it's sort of like how some gaming studios will have all these multiple licenses and have a very low staff to get all of this done and pay them very little. It's just ridiculous.
Well, they're saying that while they're happy to have awards and recognition, they're saying that the profit for the studio is too small. And if that's the case, crapping out on your artists and your writers and stuff like that isn't where you go with that. If you're not making the money that you would like to be making, then there either is an issue with, your pricing of that object, or maybe it's not as popular as you think just because it's winning awards, as we've seen from other series. If it's not bringing in the money, then it really isn't doing what it needs to do as an animated production.
Which, in a way, I'm kind of glad that more anime are doing like these 12 and 20 episode seasons and so forth. No ongoing stuff. I mean, there are some titles that are ongoing, like One Piece, Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, Case Closed. There's those titles. At least so many shows that are short-lived. It gives them a little bit of time of reprieve, but still, the cycle starts all over again.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is when you start talking about shows like One Piece or Case Closed, those are series that the manga is just that long. When you start looking into, and they did it a lot in the 90s, the Monster of the Day crap, that, I mean, hey, that's great, but unless you're a very popular series like Sailor Moon was, extending it that much more from what the manga actually was might not be the best, kind of production, kind of idea. It's not going to be your best moneymaker unless the series is extremely popular. And I mean, look at something like um, Attack on Titan.
Yep.
Took years for them to do the animation for the later seasons. And not for nothing, if the fans enjoy it, they're gonna wait that long to see it.
Yep.
How long did it take to do the Sailor Moon movies? And people just waited. And yes, they were upset and angry because they want, instant gratification. But when you're actually doing the art like these companies are doing, whether it's digital, whether it's actual, sitting down with the pen and the paper, you have to give time to be able to do something like that correctly. And if you're not giving them the time and you're forcing them to, work 30, 30 hours over their usual 40, that's not making your best product either.
Not wrong. Anywho, we have one more story for tonight, and then we'll get into Meanwhile in Japan. Now, as we all know, I believe it's ASUS and let's see. They have basically have licensed anime to promote and to sell their board, like their PC components. Like you can like ASUS has the Gundam license where you can get Gundam branded parts. They have Evangelion license. I believe they also have the Sonic the Hedgehog license. If not them, it's Gigabyte. 'Cause I know they have one. They have a license too. So one thing when you have licensed products, you got to make sure everything is correct. The spelling, the name, everything. It has to be correct. But and if it's incorrect, you got to catch it right away, or else you're gonna kind of be SOL. So that kind of happened. There was a misspelling on the Asuka themed Z790 Evangelion motherboards. Personally, I think if they were going to be Asuka themed, they should have been AMD motherboards because AMD is Team Red. But that's just so. ASUS's Republic of Gamers division on their website posted a message regarding the flaw with its latest Evangelion motherboard. They admitted fault and apologized for the mistake. What happened was it was screened mistakenly with the word Evangelion. So it was basically misspelled. And this was on their ROG Maximus Z790 Hero Ava 02 edition. They basically say, we sincerely apologize for any confusion or inconvenience this may have caused. And I just realized that the person that caught this was Jay's 2 Cents. He's a popular tech YouTuber, someone I follow. Really cool, down to earth type guy. That's just wow.
Yeah, you would think something like that would be caught before production.
I know, right? And this board is selling for like $600, $600 to $700, and because it's mostly because of the name. While a misprint might not sound like a big issue, many users took to social media to express their discontent upon the discovery of the typo. Some explained that ASUS's Evangelion Asuka themed Z790 is a $700 component, far more expensive than some of the Z790 chipset boards that are on the market, which is true. Other users additionally pointed out that how some of these boards are even being sold at half of the retail price, meaning a misspelling of what was arguably the unique selling point of the board only made the product less appealing to fans of the massively popular anime. ASUS assured customers that the motherboard's performance was not impacted by the misspelling and additionally offered our users a fix for the issue. They say, for users who have already installed the motherboard, it is important that the misprint does not affect any functionality or performance. As part of committing to resolving this issue, we will extend the warranty by an additional year and implement a replacement program. ASUS will provide a corrected directive part that the end users can replace the misprinted part. If you encounter this issue, please contact your local customer service for more details. So basically, you can get a new overlay to put on top of that, which is great. Because let me tell you something. If that wasn't an overlay and to be an actual, if it was actually etched onto the heat sinks, I'd be screaming at them for them to send me a replacement board. And I would send them the screwed up one back. I would not accept it any other way. All right. Now that we got that out the way, we're going to get into Meanwhile in Japan, and then we're going to get the hell up on out of here.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. You know what? I am going to take the last story because that's definitely up my alley.
Okie dokie. So, on November 10th, a brave crew of ramen ingredients and their companions blasted off from the Kennedy Space Center aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. This marked the beginning of their 6-month mission to absorb the very essence of being in space and bring it back to share with the world. The project is being done by restaurateur Takahiro Matsumura and his group of ramen establishments under the umbrella of Unchiko Limited, which literally translates to Poop Co. Limited.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Most famous for Human Beings Everybody Noodles restaurant in Osaka, Matsumura and Unichi have spearheaded a number of ambitious ramen-themed projects. However, none of the projects have been nearly as ambitious as this. So, aboard the Falcon 9 rocket bound for the International Space Station are some pieces of roast pork, soup stock, noodles, green onion, and fermented bamboo shoots. Once these items arrive, they will undergo testing to see the effects of cosmic rays on them. The exact nature of the testing is unclear, but there is a reference to a spacewalk in their announcement, which would suggest the food will be kept outside of the space station and thus exposed to cosmic radiation for a period of about 6 months. Aside from learning the effects, Unchi also plans on crafting a meteorite ramen bowl by sending a certain amount of Japanese soil suited for making ceramics. This will also be exposed to cosmic rays and then returned to Earth, where it will be forged into a space bowl. The space program laid this out as step 1, send Japanese soil into space and craft a meteorite ramen bowl with the soil that returns. Step 2, study the effects of 6 months worth of cosmic rays on ramen ingredients with an aim for Unchi to establish the first ramen restaurant on Mars. Step 3, promote Unchi as an iconic Osakan ramen restaurant group with an aim to have a location inside the Osaka Kansai World Expo 2025 venue. This is basically just a huge,
publicity stunt.
So it all might seem ridiculously ambitious for a ramen restaurant, but its founder does seem to be a very focused individual. Matsumura first decided to open a ramen restaurant when he was 10 and realized that dream by the time he was 24. He has since gone on to do some impressive things like open a variety of restaurants around the world and even travel to the Ukraine in the middle of the Russian invasion to hand out cups of instant ramen.
Okay, now that's crazy.
So yeah, he now wants to be the first ramen restaurant owner on Mars.
Well, that would make Spike Spiegel happy.
Yeah, I mean, that would make a lot of people happy at this point.
I'm picture. I don't know. As you're describing what the, I'm just picturing the Fantastic Four eating ramen. That's all I'm picturing. And then they get their superpowers because they ate the damn ramen. Oh God.
Well, I mean, now you're into the weirdness that would be a Japanese version of that series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they can turn Spider-Man into a mecha, then I guess they can, give the Fantastic Four their abilities because of space radiated ramen.
Seems legit. All right. Now, our next and final story of the night is about Japan's oldest monorail, and it's permanently closing next month. That's kind of. Japan is a country crisscrossed by seemingly limitless number of train and subway lines. Monorails, though, are harder to find, and they're going to be a little bit harder still following an announcement from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Bureau of Transportation that next month the Ueno Zoo monorail will officially and permanently closing and subsequently dismantled. It's sad, but not shocking, because this the oldest monorail in Japan, which started service in 1957. But as the name implies, the Ueno Zoo monorail operates within the Ueno Zoo, which in itself is located inside Ueno Park. The 300-meter monorail line connects two stations, one on the east side of the zoo and one on the west side. The ride only takes about a minute and a half, and it's possible to walk between the park's east and west sections as well. But the novelty of riding the singular rail, coupled with the fact that it's strictly a leisure line, means that a lot of people have fond family memories of the Ueno Zoo monorail, either from riding it themselves when they were kids or taking it with their children or grandkids. Those aren't just cases of local nostalgia either, as Ueno Zoo is a major attraction for domestic travelers visiting Tokyo from other parts of Japan. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be a cue for rail fans to head to Ueno for one last ride. Unfortunately, that's not an option. The monorail hasn't been running since 2019, when service was suspended because of the age conditions of the train rail, as long as other things. Future plans for the monorail appear to be in limbo during the pandemic. And in July of this year, the Bureau of Transportation declared it will formally be closing the monorail the summer of next year, which provide a sliver of hope that it might make a few final runs before this week's timetable is moved up. And the last day for the monorail is December 27th. Bureau says that the demolition work will begin sometime after January, and the monorail remains to be removed by the end of next fiscal year, which comes in the spring of 2025, and that a new substitute vehicle will go into service by the end of the following fiscal year, which is spring 2026. Based on that wording, though, it is unlikely to be a monorail leaving the Tokyo monorail, which connects the Hamamatsucho station and Haneda Airport, as Tokyo's sole remaining monorail. If I could, let's see, I might have to put this on my map so I can go visit it. That should be kind of fun. You know what? And on that note, I think we're done.
Sounds good.
I think it's time for us to get up on out of here. So if you like tonight's show, tell a friend. They in turn will tell another friend, and so on and so forth. We're independent bloggers, independent podcasters. We do this for the fun of it. So what we like and don't like, we're telling you straight up. If you have any questions about the show, drop us a line at podcast@animejamsession.com. Again, that is podcast@animejamsession.com. We're here to believe you. Don't forget to check out our website at Anime Jam Session, where you will find not just our weekly podcast, you'll find anime reviews, editorials, cosplay tips and tricks, cosplayer interviews, links to our YouTube page of convention coverage, links to our Facebook page of cosplay coverage, and a whole lot more at animejamsession.com. And if you like the podcast, subscribe to it. We are available in many podcasting applications. You like Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Apple Podcasts. And what's cool is some of these apps the ability to leave a review, so we greatly appreciate that. And follow us on our social media, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. It's all Anime Jam Session. Follow us on those so you know when we're going live, when we have photos up, videos up, all this other cool stuff. And those of you who follow us on our socials, thank you so much. We couldn't do the show without you. And down below, if you are watching live, is a link or links to our donation pages for Stream Elements, Streamlabs, and Ko-Fi. You can also cheer us on with bits in the chat as we're going live, or you can also sub to the channel and give out gift subs. Every little bit counts, so we thank you so much for that. So now we're going to go around the room. Last words, Mako-chan.
I will be decorating this weekend for Christmas and starting to put my regular lights up around the house too.
My last words. Well, it's time to put those holiday songs on my phone. I got stuff to do tonight. Thankfully, I can sleep in a little before I go out and do what I gotta do. So that is it. End of list. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. We should have the whole cast here. Mako, me, and Ari will all be here. Will you be here? We hope that you are. So thank you for watching and listening and participating with us. We are going to get out of here and call it a night. So I'm Ranma.
And I'm Mako-chan.
Great fight. Great night. See you next week.
Good night.
Say goodnight, Mako-chan.
Good night, Mako-chan.
Perfect. Awesome. That was great. We're out of here. See you all next week.
This podcast has been a production of Anime Jam Session and AJS Productions. No fanboys and fangirls were hurt, maimed, shot, electrocuted, or pistol whipped in this episode. For now. The views, opinions, and thoughts expressed on this show do not reflect the staff or the network as a whole. But we're still right, damn it. For transcripts of this episode, start typing. Check us out at animejamsession.com and vognetwork.com for more information about us and other programming. Jamatane!